So, I finally graduated from high school. I've been let go of my shackles, and now that I'm free, I've been reflecting on my high school life. So how was my high school, you might ask? I was progressing as a human being, tripped halfway, landed dry in concrete. It sucked. Everything about school sucked. My environment, work, and myself. After all I've been through, I want the guy who told me that high school was going to be the best years of my life arrested for scamming a minor. So, what happened? Well, let's talk about the social life, because that's where all the most of the better reputation live. So, as the respected captain of the Diversion Club, I got no hand-holding action, so that's already a problem. The biggest problem. But another issue came probably because of my lukewarm status. I'm not a complete nerd. I barely play any games. I don't have diabetes. And I know what the sky looks like. But I'm also not cool. They looked at my hair and said that I didn't meet their requirements to join their social club. I was kind of stuck in the middle. I hanged out with a lot of nerds because I watched anime, but I didn't really feel any particular connection to them. But I also didn't really hang out much with the cooler kids because for some reason it took a lot of energy to speak with them. For a while, I kind of preyed upon the fellow loners because they were easy for me to open up to. But that had its own flaws because eventually they kind of realized I wasn't as cool as my profile. Or they just see me as a stepping stone for their own growth. I think the main cause of my lukewarm status was that I transferred between two high schools that was drastically different. My first school was a breeding ground for nerds that have reached the final stages of their metamorphism, while my other school was the reference setting for Mad Max. While I was conforming to the laws of the elite bookworms, I didn't expect that I'd eventually need to carry heavy firearms to go take a dump in a bottom floor male bathroom. But I gotta say, the issue wasn't that I needed to hunt babies for lunch, but rather that I noticeably found it harder to get along with people here. My empty status at least had a meaning at its bare minimum in my first school, because everyone else was just as empty as I was. But in my second school, they saw me and asked me what my name was on the last day of school. You know, I actually did get along with a lot of people though. I just never really managed to blossom a friendship with people that I got along with. I don't actually know why, I just for some reason wasn't really good at making friends. Maybe it wasn't because I was bad, or maybe it was, but what's clear is that I started off alone, tried my best to climb up the ladder, and then just ended up me being alone. So, enough about my social life, let's talk about the academic part. What high school is all about, the dump in the dumpster. It's kind of weird because thinking back, I don't really remember all the hard parts of my academics, but when I do try to remember, I do recall it putting a lot of pressure on my mentality. I'll say it, I'm lazy. I sit on my ass all day, flickering in and out of consciousness instead of listening to my teacher acting like fanboys talking about Adolf Hitler. The class ends every day with me with a severe brain damage and 2 seconds of the material that my teacher talked about in an hour and a half. Then I go home, open up my homework, and think about how I never learned any of the answers to the questions that was asked in the work. I get annoyed and then remember, oh wait, it's the 21st century, I'll just Google it. So then I open up to Google, then to YouTube. 5 hours later, I tell myself, okay, I think now I should actually start doing my work. It's all good though, because most of the time I have enough time since usually I start quite early at 11:59 p.m. Miraculously, my grades were actually quite decent. By decent I mean above average. And my consistency stroked my ego. I wanted more, better grades. I was rolling down the path of power-hungry madness. I was seeing the ghost of Einstein giving me the approval that I deserve. I went to the school bathroom one day, and I thought that I saw a school shooter standing in front of me. So hearing all the news, I panicked and pulled out my AK from my bag that I was going to shoot up my school with, and started shooting at the school shooter. But it was actually my reflection, reflecting off the low quality mirror that the bathroom had. It seemed like the more that I was obsessed with Marx, the more that I looked like I haven't talked to him for 10 years. It was pretty clear that I had put a lot of pressure on myself, but you know, I told myself that I can walk through storms even greater. I was built different. Then I got 51% computer science and told myself I ain't built for this. It was only a matter of time before my ill-deformed schedule was going to catch up and bite me in the ass. It came and it bit me hard, mostly during the later years. I felt like Piccolo from Dragon Ball. I couldn't keep up with all the bullcrap that was being thrown around. I managed to survive though, and school ended with my average grades being pretty decent and my experience being quite terrible. So, what went wrong? What can you do so that you don't have to look at a photo of your younger self crying and think, what a lucky bastard? I can tell you one of the things I did wrong: lack of effort to make connections. During my reign as a high school student, especially my later years, I barely put any effort in hanging out with anyone. I didn't talk much to anyone, and when I needed cocaine the most that day, I had no one to ask. 13 people died that day. I didn't have anyone to boost my energy when I was unmotivated. I didn't get the opportunity to geek out about my interests, and I didn't manage to get anyone to support me when I didn't have enough money to be a tier 1 Pokemon sub. Just join clubs. I thought I didn't have a reason to, and now I kinda wish I did. But I'm not you. My issues came within my life. I can tell you what I did wrong, but I can't really say what you're gonna do wrong. So just follow what you think is the best for you, learn along the ways. If you fail, at least you can make a video about it. So, what now? What have I learned in school? As for what I'm going to do, I'm probably gonna follow 90% of the students and go to university. Hopefully, things will be different from high school. As for what I learned, don't do drugs.